And we're going, welcome back, Tuesday podcast. Nothing wrong with a Tuesday podcast. Missed Monday, but Cohen had an exam. Cohen, how'd the exam go? I guess you don't have a mic, so you can't even answer.
It went good.
It went well?
Yeah.
All right, did you pass?
Yeah, I hope so.
All right, so now you're here. Congrats. Welcome back, everyone. High Button Podcast. Jeff, dudes, the boys made it in, is it, you said, a rainstorm or snowstorm outside?
Yeah, it's a little bit of mixed precipitation, I guess you could say.
So it could turn into anything. Good old Nova Scotia.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. How was the weekend for everyone? Jeff, we'll start with you to my left. Clockwise? Yeah.
It was all right. Had better weekends, but we got through it. There's a couple of things here with the streams, but everything's all right. Ready to go. Beat the old sickness midweek.
Nice.
The old cold. So here on the other side, ready for another one.
There you go, dudes.
I mean, Jeff and I pretty much have the same weekends, but it's
You had a man cold?
No, I didn't have a man cold. No, I skipped that whole process. Knock on wood. Hopefully, I don't get that. But that's the proper time to get sick, Jeff, through the middle of the week. I like that. Just another weekend of streaming, man. A couple things came up, some schedule changes last second, which is nonsense. But at the end of the day, we do what we can to get the games back up. So I'm not going to call anybody out, but it needs to stop.
What about the pond?
The pond. Oh, yeah. Spent a lot of hours on the pond this weekend, actually. Yesterday, last night, I guess. Just brings you back to being a kid. You're out there playing in the dark or in the light, and it just kind of, you feel like you're 10 years old for a couple hours out there, and then you get off and you're gassed because you're just not in shape anymore, but it's all good. You walk up to your house, have a little nap, and a couple hours later you go back out.
Right on.
How about you?
Weekend was good. It was actually, it was good. It was a lot of, like, grown-up adult stuff. A lot of, like, bills.
Yeah.
A lot of, like, get ready for the next couple of months, preparation. A lot of, like, things that you have to do within the company that you don't want to do, but you have to do in order to make sure that it runs. Like, it's like a lot of that stuff.
Seems like you're doing a lot of that lately.
Well, it's just this weird transition in the company where it's like, I always say this, like, this is a real company. Like, sometimes I think people think that it's just a pretend company and we're just here having we're just here having fun for the hell of it. But, like, there's actual things that need to happen in order for it to run. And in order for things to run, you have to get people that have real jobs help you out, like in terms of finances, accounting, incorporating, all of that fun stuff that I don't really speak that language. But we have a lot of good people in our corner that help navigate us through this world of like I just said, incorporating, making sure payroll's up to date, all this stuff that I don't really consider fun. It's not why I got involved in this business, but at the end of the day, it's kind of forced and it's in your face no matter what, and you can't run a business unless that side is done. So that's the stuff I've been dealing with, and I don't know, the stuff that sort of stuff is just it's just necessary at the end of the day. It's not good. It's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just necessary. So I'll say this, though, when it's all said and done and you finish these meetings and you finish all these emails and get on the other end of it, you feel great. Like it's all about sleep. And if you can sleep knowing that the work got done, it's a good feeling. And yeah, I at the end of the day, I can't get in that creative mindset and like pushing the company forward if I'm here stuck thinking about,
Whatever.
the back end of the company. It's like, that's just not where my head's at. So the fact that it got done, we're still in the middle of it. It's great. 2025, it's going to be a big year. I'm really excited for it. It's a real company, right? It's going to get a sip of coffee. Give me 1 sec here.
Yeah, that's part of the process here. When this started, years ago now, it was none of this talk at all. It was how can we get into rinks? How can we get some teams? And you said grown-up things, and you throw, your own bills and house renovations or whatever. In my case, brakes on my car. Like, it's just
Weddings.
Weddings, yeah. Like, yeah. Jesus,
For
yeah.
both of you
Yeah.
in the last year.
I haven't even heard that term in a couple of weeks, so that means it's coming up at some point
That
here.
one away from you.
But yeah, adult stuff, man. But it's at the end of the day, like you said, and I know you and you know Belly, and if that stuff doesn't get done, you don't move forward. So I can see you being up till 2 a.m, making sure that stuff's all crossed off.
It's just like some of the meetings that you go into with these guys. Like we've all gone to school with these guys who excel in school and they understand the language of finance and they understand these language of abbreviations. Like, Justin, did you attach your TCO to your 421? And you're just sitting there going, let me double check. And you're really just thinking of something to say when you have no idea. But like I said, it's really good that we have people in our corner that understand that language that can help us. I'm not going to say his name, but we all know who he is, who's been in the meetings with me, and he's been awesome for us. But that's like the cool part about this side of it is that the brand High Button Sports is well known enough in Atlantic Canada that there's the people that we're working with on the other side in terms of these lawyers, in terms of accountants, in terms of people that they know us and they already know the backstory of our business and where it comes from. So it's nice going into these meetings and they go, oh, okay, so this is how you guys are doing this. This is how you're doing this. And we don't really even have to tell them. Like it's kind of just nice knowing that, like our guy in finance used to play for Cape Breton Islanders, and like he knows High Button Sports, and he was really excited to work with us due to the fact that he's followed the company for the past 5 years. Like that's the part that really gets me excited, is that there's people in our corner that know our backstory, not from just the past 2, 3, 4 years, from maybe all the way back to the beginning. And you're just like, oh man, it's a great feeling knowing I don't really have to explain what High Button Sports is. You already know what it is. You know what we do. They just want to know like where everything comes from and how we get business and
where we want to go with it.
And where we want to go with it. It's great in that sense. It's a good feeling, and it makes you wanna. It just makes you want to essentially keep growing, because I don't know, they're there every step of the way. It's nice knowing that there's people every step of the way that are by your side as you get to grow. It's wicked.
Yeah, no more ground floor explanations. Not no more, but less of it. And the other part I think about too is like, when in our heads, at the end of the day, sometimes we think, oh, is that, do people know us? Because that's just kind of how you stay motivated and you stay in it. But to hear other people kind of tell the story that we've told 1,000 times is kind of like, okay, so there's people listening out there. There's people that are following along, which is, at the end of the day, we don't do this for the following, but it certainly helps your case in the long run. So it's nice to hear that people are kind of understanding how it goes.
Yeah, it's dope. Some of these offices that we go into, or that I'm going into now, makes me want to get an office. Oh my god!
Put something like that in front of your face.
Oh my
You're gonna be tempted.
God, we go into these offices and like they're real like buildings, and they have boardrooms that are just empty, and I'm just looking at them like I know exactly what I would do if this was my place with that boardroom. I know what would happen in that boardroom. I know what this the secretary would be doing. Like
there's Jeff's seat.
Yeah. You just, I don't know. You just go into these offices and you see like kitchens. And you see like I don't know, like just break rooms, and you see like board rooms, and you see like water cooler conversations between these people, and you're just like, oh man, one day. Not that I don't like working from home, I do like it, but I also, that conversation always comes up with people like, oh, I'm 3 days in the office and 2 days at home. It's like, oh, I wish I was 1 day at home and 4 days in the office. And some people have different preferences on how many times they out of the week they want to work from home, hence in the office. But I think for us it would be great to one day like be in an office where we get everyone in there 5 days a week. It's not, I don't know, I just don't think this is a real job where you're like, I hate going into the office. Yeah. It's like High Button Sports office would be unreal. Yeah, it'd be so much fun.
Putting green or something in there, right? Lots of sports related stuff in there. But just do me a favor, if you do get a building, just don't go smack dab in the middle of downtown Halifax, please. That's a long commute from old DS. Jesus, I'll be cursing and swearing the whole way in. But on the fringe is good for me, right?
We'll find you a shuttle or something. You don't have to drive. You can just sit in the back. The shuttle will take you in. Great underground parking. You don't have to
jacket.
Collar jacket.
If you have an office, you have to wear a collared shirt, right?
Anyways, that's the dream. But yeah, really good week. Awesome to watch. Like, I know maybe Jeff, you can talk about this. Dudes and I, we're trying to get into football. We're actually, Dudes and I are good people. We're trying. You can't knock a guy for trying.
No.
We're trying to watch football, and we're trying to get into that male camaraderie, huck it, chuck it football mentality. But
it's tough. It's tough, man. It really is. And it's not because we don't enjoy it. It's just tough to understand.
I get on there. I'm watching the first game. It's Travis Kelce?
Yeah.
His brother?
Jason, yeah.
Who's the guy who's retired who used to play
Jason
for Foley?
Kelce,
Jason?
Yeah.
So he's up. That guy turned the game on. It's him telling America what a tush push is. A push tush?
Tush push, yeah.
Push.
Do you know what it is now?
Is it for let me guess.
Well, no.
Is it the offensive line where they give him like a little bump?
Yeah, it's like a new play in football. Controversial.
I'll admit, like, that was funny. Like, that was hilarious. Like, the first thing you turn on, it's this guy. You see everyone in suits. This guy's just wearing like a hoodie, sweatpants. They're holding like a Monster Energy drink. And he's telling the guy from ESPN to like hold the mic down so he can explain to America what a push tush is. And then it was actually kind of funny.
That's the stuff you're trying to hear, right?
Exactly.
Because if you jump into it and it's X's and O's, you're lost. So I'm like, switch, you know what I mean? If he's talking about, RB or HB runs or whatever the hell the plays are, you're like, I don't know what this is, but show me the game.
So I'll let you speak for the common football fan. How was this weekend in terms of entertainment for the NFL football fans out there?
So I'd say at least the Chiefs-Bills game was good, but both teams that won were the teams that like no one was kind of cheering for, because it was Philadelphia, who have their fans who are pretty infamous for being scumbags. So most of America kind of gives them a hard time about that. It's kind of them versus the world when it comes to football. And then you get the Chiefs on the other side, who won to go to the Super Bowl, who have won 2 in a row and are trying to be the first team ever to win 3 in a row. So
Brady never won 3 in a row?
He never won 3 in a row. He won 6 with the Pats, 1 with the Buccaneers, but there was always a year separating the second. Like, he would win 2, year off, and then win his 3rd. So he never actually won 3 in a row.
Wow.
So Mahomes has 3 already, but he had a year in between, so he'll have 4 in 5 years if he wins this year. So then it comes like, as a Patriots fan, then it becomes the Mahomes versus Brady factor. So I was cheering pretty hard for the Bills despite being a Patriots fan, but they couldn't pull it off. Another year, 0-4, Josh Allen is against Mahomes. So
I liked his quote. He
What was
said
it?
the ability. He goes, in order to be the champ, you got to beat the champ, and we just didn't. And that's all he said at the end of it. And now at the end of the day, you're pretty choked up after that game. But 0-4. Now, there was some controversy, as there always is in the NFL. Not everyone, but most people think it's like rigged or scripted or something like that. But I won't get into the details of that because I truly don't understand. But
I was going to say that's a safe bet.
yeah, like, I'm just going to leave that
There
where
might
it
be
is.
some truth to that.
But I don't know, man. It's I was cheering for the Bills only because I'm just like one of those haters that doesn't want to see the team win 45 years in a row. So
Yeah.
that's just how I am.
Well, that's how everyone's feeling. Like, no one wants to see the Chiefs win again. Like, Travis isn't really as likable these days. He might retire, actually, after this game. That's probably a prop bet.
Going on tour.
Going on tour. So it's going to be Philly versus Kansas City. I believe they played last year, didn't they, Cohen, in the final?
2 years.
2 years ago? 2 years ago, okay.
Rematch.
Yeah, so we'll kind of see how that goes. But yeah, another season coming down. I'm sure Coleman had a
I
tough
know.
day. Did you message him?
No, I didn't, but I was thinking of Coleman the whole time.
Yeah.
Same.
When you see the Bills fans on TV, you just think of Coleman. You're like, Coleman should be in that crowd right now cheering with those people.
He could have been. We don't
He
know.
very well could have been. I honestly, he could have been out in Kansas City, but I don't know. It's you watch the best part I think about these games, or just any NFL game, is the camera guys zooming up on the fans and how they look like they're just out of it. They're so locked in on this game, nothing else matters. I love that aspect of the NFL because it's pretty funny. And then you see these guys, man. There was what was it? There was a guy that he was a fan of Washington. They lost and they're leaving Philly. I think Portnoy tweeted it out, and some guy like took his hat. The Washington fan who lost, like he just trying to get to his car, but then Philly fans are just harassing him. And the guy took his hat and he just like let it be because he knows if he tried to get his hat back, they'd probably jump him or something.
Yeah.
I was just like, I don't know. I would just never put myself in that environment. Like, I don't know why that would ever happen. I don't know. I get it. You're a huge football fan, but there's something about the fans of that game. It's just like, it's another level. They don't even think about reality. It's just, they think they are on the team or something.
And that's
It's
Philly.
insane.
The Philly fans are that. Like, they're known for that. Like, the Bills are to an extent, but they're a little friendlier. Like, the whole joke is Philly scumbags.
Buffalo's closer to the Canadian border. That's why.
That's
right?
another big one too. You should go to a game. We should get down to a game one time. I think I said that a while ago, just for you to experience it, because it's so different than the other sports. Like, in person, most people prefer it on TV, but I think you got to see it like with your eyes at least once.
The grown men painting like their full body and they're
Yeah.
really just like shirtless in an outdoor stadium.
It's for like a regular
like
season
minus
game
25.
in the middle of the season.
And you're just like, holy smokes, it's crazy. Another level of fandom. Like, I don't get me wrong, hockey fans are hockey fans.
Yeah,
We
man.
love hockey. But I don't know if you'll ever see a shirtless. Maybe there is such a thing, but to that degree of NFL fans, I don't think hockey can even come close to that level of fandom. It was insane.
And it's crazy because there's only 16 or I guess 17 games now guaranteed, but forever it was only 16 games, 8 home games. So there's essentially like, if you're living in one of these cities and you're a big fan, you just book off the 8 Sundays.
Yeah, it's because
And like
one
even
a week.
even if you're not going to the game, you're at least going to tailgate, and like this is part of your winter and your fall. Just like every second week or whatever it is,
Yeah.
you go to the stadium, party your ass off, dress up.
Yeah, I
hope
get
you
it.
win.
If you're investing that much of your life and finances into like season tickets, into
Yeah.
this is my team, and then something bad happens, I maybe I do understand a little bit more how you're a little pissed off. I get that. How many home games a year?
8.
Yeah, so if you got 8 days out of the year to look forward to and it doesn't go well one of the days, yeah, okay, maybe I'm a little upset too, especially if I painted my whole body green and nothing happened. Yeah, I'd be a little upset. I get it.
Hockey's different, right? Like every second night you're basically playing, whether it's on the road or whatever, sometimes back-to-backs, but football you'll never see a back-to-back.
No.
You never see every second night. They play once a week. So it's like you said, you get geared up for this one game a week. You sitting there at work with, most people can't stay in their jobs, so you're just waiting to you go paint your gut green so you can scream at your TV. You know what I mean? But that's just how it is. It's a different fandom, and I just want to touch on the note of seeing it in person.
You saw an NFL game?
I haven't, no.
Oh.
But what I want to say was, in another sport, NBA. I had no time for the NBA when I was younger. Now, obviously, I just didn't care, but I went to a Raptors game years ago, and man, in person compared to on TV, it just doesn't do it justice. Like, number one, I'll say, was the court looked way smaller in person than it does on TV, which is obviously just the camera. But now I've actually started to watch NBA and understand because I went to that one game, and it had similar vibes to lacrosse. It was like music playing the whole time. It was like a party. People are cheering the whole time. It was just different. So since then, I wouldn't call myself a basketball fan, but I've certainly kept the basketball highlights on in the morning or whatever the case may be, or I follow it a little bit. But I think to see a football game would change my whole perspective, because I'm the type of learner that learns while it's going on. Like in TV, I'm on my phone and blah blah blah, and you're not really paying attention. Sometimes it's on mute because Lise wants to read or whatever. But in person, you can kind of like see how it's forming, and you can see the body language of the guys, and you can take it all in. But at the end of the day, you got to put 4 hours aside for this game. So
yeah, and like if you had me sitting next to you, you'd just be asking questions the whole time, which would be like how you'd expect it. But I think it'd be fun. I don't know. I've been to 3 or 4 of them, I think now. NFL games,
All
and they're
Pats?
always I used to go down to Toronto. There was like a thing you could get on. It was called a rally bus when I lived there, and at 5:30 in the morning, you'd go down to like the convention center right downtown Toronto, like where we'd walk by the Jack Astors, like right there. Bus would pick you up. You'd take that drive the hour and a half. They would take you over the border. You give your passports. They stop at the duty free, so you can get like all your liquor for cheap.
nice.
They take your passports, you go into Buffalo, they take the bus right into the tailgate, park the bus, you're there by like 10:30 a.m. or whatever, and then you party from 10:30 till 1:30 when the game starts, make your way into the stadium, party the whole game, come out, jump on the bus, you're just absolutely gassed, and they drive you right back, and by like 7:30 you're back in downtown Toronto.
Is there a washroom on the bus?
Yeah, it's like
Okay, I
a
was
tour
gonna
bus.
say,
That's
no-
such a
yeah.
belly question.
I was gonna say there's no. So you can drink on the bus? and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Oh,
Like they go to the duty free. Like I was only like 18 at the
Can you
time.
imagine
too.
being on that bus and you couldn't take a leak? Oh no.
Oh, you'd just be
No.
emptying your beer.
I just wouldn't go.
Stick
Sorry,
your
boys.
pecker in the nozzle.
It's crazy though. Like they just stack your passports and you give them to the person, and they just like go in. They come back like 15 minutes later. They dish them out again, and then you're on your way to the game. Like I did it 3 times with my buddies.
They're like, Jeffrey.
So we would go to Bills versus Pats, and like
That's actually pretty sick.
it was
Yeah,
pretty
sick.
sick. I
The
think it was like
characters on
$100
that bus must be hilarious.
Yeah, I think it was like $100 total for the day, like on top of your ticket, which is probably like $200. So it's not bad.
Tailgating is like 90% of why people go to games, it seems.
Oh,
Especially like in
definitely.
Buffalo where they do like the table smashes and shit. I've tailgated once, but it wasn't an NFL game. It was a St. FX homecoming. And I just,
Okay.
like that was crazy. So I can't imagine what an NFL game would be like, especially with like legitimate fans. Now, like,
Yeah.
university football, pretty big turnover rate, and just not quite the same as the NFL. But that would be, as much as I don't like to drink that much anymore, I still feel like you throw me in that situation and I'm becoming one of those people.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
man.
Especially if I have a drive there and from.
Yes,
Who cares?
you
Sleep
got
on the
nothing to
bus,
worry
whatever.
about. Sick.
Can we talk about some serious stuff now?
Yeah, sure.
You're good with that, Colin?
Not the bathrooms on the bus.
Well, no, I'm not. So there is bathrooms on the bus. You
Big
confirmed
time
it.
bathrooms.
Okay, then we're set.
You just
then.
can't, go
We're
number
good.
2.
Nate lost one of his good buddies.
Yes.
Rantanen.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very sad moment. I'm gonna play a song that kind of. Sarah McLachlan, "Arms of an Angel." This is the way I see
Is it arms of an angel or wings of an angel?
in the arms of an angel.
Oh, yeah.
Is that going? Can you hear that on the? It's going. You know, Rantanen and Nate won a cup together. 10 years together. Friendships. Bonded. Tic-tac-toes. Then they brought Makar in. Makar's still there. But when Rantanen left the other day, apparently it took the whole team by shock. And this is one thing that we're not going to forget. The stories, the memories, and the championship, most importantly, that they created together. When we saw Nate the other day get interviewed post-game after they lost to Boston the other day, and the reporters shoved the microphone in his face. And they said, how do you feel about this? Wrong time, wrong place. You don't do that. They're not bringing the chorus up. Oh, there it is. Let it play for a sec. All right, that's enough.
It's a great tune, by the way.
Absolutely brutal. So there's so many rumors out there about the number. He wanted to be the highest paid winger in the NHL, which I think would have been 12. Who is it
It's
now?
Draisaitl now, isn't it?
Yeah, but he's at 4.
He's a
centerman.
Yeah, he's a centerman, but he wanted a Draisaitl deal.
Yeah, but they weren't getting. He didn't want 4. They're saying that he didn't want 14. That they're saying that he wanted to be the highest paid winger, which I think would have been 12. He didn't want to make over Nate, which is Nate's like 12.7, I think, or something.
Okay.
But apparently, like, they offered him like 11.5, and they just wouldn't go to 12, which is nuts to think that this whole deal got like in shambles because of $500,000 or $250,000. It would just be absolutely insane. It's a fail on both sides if that's actually true. I don't know if it's true or not, but I just have to think if you're Nate right now, you're pissed at someone, you just don't know who. You just don't know who.
I just can't stand reporters that, like you said, I know it's professional sports and stuff like that, but you just lose a game to a team you shouldn't lose to.
Boston.
And then you got to answer questions about one of your best teammates getting traded, you know? So, and like apparently they didn't really see it coming. And even Rantanen said in one of his quotes, he was like, I was blindsided by this because I was willing to take a discount.
I just didn't like how it went down afterwards. Like one of those big events in your team in terms of press. If you're the what do you say, PR guy for the Avalanche, the guy that organizes the media and stuff, you go to Nate before the game in Boston. You go, hey Nate, look, obviously this question's coming. It's gonna come quick. It's most likely going to come right after the Boston game when you sit down. Do you want me to arrange something maybe before or maybe after in a press conference room where you can address it, get showered, get changed, get your thoughts together? I don't know, just to jam the guy with questions right there, right after the game. The guy barely took his shoulder pads off, and it's like, hey, how mad are you right now about Rantanen leaving? And the guy's just like, well, I obviously don't want to talk about this right now. I don't know. I just would have went about it a little bit differently. Not that he didn't answer. He answered the questions great, as he does. He's a pro. Most guys did. But I don't know. I just would have maybe set up something. Like, in the playoffs when they send them to a room, like a podium.
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe something like that I just would have arranged.
Like
with
the hot stove.
With him and Makar. So it's just like, all right, boys, get your gear off, shower, get your suit on, get your thoughts together, go up on the stage, answer the questions. Rather than just like, all right, Nate, what's up, man? What happened? You didn't want him here? I don't know. I didn't like how it went down, but it's a tough one for sure. And Colorado, I don't know. Colorado's deep, but Rantanen, what did he get last year? 87 points, something like that?
Dude, he's a machine. He has
64 points last year in 49 games.
Which, isn't that staggering?
25 goals, though.
I think he has 81 total playoff games played, and he has 102 points.
101. 81 games played.
That's where I was heading.
That's insane.
He's a playoff performer.
Regular season doesn't mean shit. I'm a Leafs fan. I know that. It doesn't mean jack.
Spoken
you know what I mean?
like a true Leafs fan.
It just doesn't mean anything. Like, obviously, you have to get into the playoffs, but to have a guy that performs that well in the big games alongside with Nate and Makar, that's what made them so dangerous. And I think that's why Carolina had such a high price for him, and they wanted him, right?
But they're not guaranteed to sign him, right?
No.
Like, they still have to agree to his number.
Yeah, and Colorado retained 50% of his salary, so it's like
for this year.
Yeah.
So it'll be a fresh slate for him this summer.
Yeah. So it's basically a rental
Yeah.
to see if they want to sign him. But Carolina has a bunch of UFAs coming up, so they're going to have some cap space at the end of this season. But they're a team, man. Carolina, they can't get over the hump. They can't. They dominate the regular season every single year, and they get into the playoffs and they choke. That makes sense as to why they would want a guy like Rantanen.
Yeah.
It sucks for Colorado, but at the end of the day, this is a business, fellas, and we love Nate. And one thing I'll say is, in the moment, your adrenaline, you know how it is after hockey. You don't have that much time to kind of regain your composure or your thoughts, right? So to be asked that right away is tough because you want to speak your mind. And he doesn't really beat around the bush that much, right? That's one thing I do like about his media availability is he just kind of says it how it is and how he really thinks about it. But it's tough, man. But I mean, Carolina got one hell of a player, and I'm not like Carolina. I don't hate them. I don't love them. So they're kind of just down the middle for me.
When's the trade deadline?
February
mid-Feb
12th or something.
So that's like
Probably by the
you have to
nations,
think
right?
Colorado's going to bring someone in.
Well, that's one
You
thing
have
they
to
did
think.
say, right? So they have, by doing this, I think they opened up like $5 million in cap space. Now they can put Landeskog on the LTIR, which now will open up more space for them to sign some people. But I don't think they're done just yet. Like, and Martin Necas, like, he's not Rantanen, but he's having one hell of a year. I only know this because of fantasy hockey, and somebody has him, and he keeps beating me with him. But he's having a great year in Colorado, and I don't even know if he was on the first line. Like, he just, he's going to help out, and he already made an impact in the first game. So
You just have to bring someone in for Nate. Sorry, he's in his prime right now. Makar in his prime. Well, he'll be in his prime for a bit. These are prime years in Colorado. You just can't waste this year.
But it was Rantanen's prime too.
But
That's
that's
the
the thing.
problem.
That was yesterday. That was a lifetime. 2 days ago when he got traded. That's at the end of the day. If you're a professional GM, you don't even think about that now. It's like, okay, who do we get? What do we get? And how do we win a cup this year? These are prime years. You got to think about Sid in his prime. Think about Sid in his prime, and every single year they had a chance to win a cup. Nate's in his prime.
Yeah.
They have the best defenseman in the league, arguably the top 2 best forward in the lead in Nate. That you have to do something. I'm not going to say Sid, but I'm just saying.
well, there was that
Twitter
floating
was going
around.
nuts.
That's
on
biz,
foot.
man.
Yeah.
So it's March 7th is the trade deadline. So there is
That's
a bit
not
of
late.
time, but I think it's because of the Four Nations at the end of February. They have to wait for that to be done, and they do
Right.
like a trade freeze for it.
Because
So
there's
it'll
like
be
a
right
break.
after that. Yeah.
Because they don't want to trade guys during that.
Because the All-Star game was like around this time last
Yeah, it was
year.
pretty similar.
So it's like they just pushed it back a bit, I think. But
Twitter was going nuts on Friday.
oh,
Kevin
man.
Weeks tweeted a picture of Pittsburgh, and everyone just went nuts.
That's all you got to do.
You and Biz are like the same, Deli. You're just like the biggest rumor you can get. You're like the little eyes emoji. Like, could it happen? Just want it.
The imagination runs wild.
I did say that
Headphones
to you,
here.
though. I said, they're just making room for Sid, right? But
Imagine.
that would be nuts. But let's talk about Taylor Hall for a sec here, okay? This guy's been on more teams than this guy's
7.
leading the league in tracksuits for sure.
7 for a first overall pick. 7 teams.
But at the end of the day, he's never going to hurt your team. Like, he's just not. Like, he's not going to wow you anymore. He's not. He's not going to go end to end and like he did in his first couple years. He's just not going to. But like, I know in Chicago, they brought him in because I listened to the podcast they had. I don't know if it was Chicklets or whatever, but they brought him in to like kind of help Bedard be in the first overall limelight and stuff like that. So now he's at the point in his career, he still seems young in my head because we watched Taylor Hall in the World Juniors like 10, 15 years ago, but it still feels fresh in my mind. But he's a leader now. He's a vet, and he's a good depth forward. So for Carolina to pick him up as well,
Yeah,
it's going to help out a
that
little
was-
bit down the middle.
That was weird for Chicago because they retained half of Rantanen's salary, but only got a 3rd-round pick for giving up Hall as well.
Yeah.
And you'd figure at the deadline they'd be able to get at least a 3rd on its own for Hall. So I don't know why they helped facilitate that trade or like helped out the Hurricanes so much, but
I just don't understand three-way trades. Like they just like,
Yeah, they're
even if I
confusing.
sit down and try and break it down, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's like, how do you, this guy goes here, that guy goes here, but you get a 3rd
it
round
must
pick?
just be Carolina just didn't have the money.
They
So like
don't.
so Rantanen's contract right now, whatever it is, if you take half of that on, that player goes from let's say 10 mil to 5 mil. So Carolina can now actually make room for them.
Yeah, true.
And then Chicago's kind of like doing them a favor and getting a 3rd round pick back, but they also dished Hall off, which didn't make a ton of sense, I guess. But
Basically 2 first rounders in the deal, but only a 3rd round got exchanged.
yeah, and it's tough to consider Hall like a first rounder these days. Like it has been 15 years and 7 teams, but that's kind of I guess where that one went. But I gotta say, man, as an Oilers fan, like I was feeling better about better about the chances once Rantanen's gone. Like we talk about Colorado, and they're gonna add again, but they just took away a top 6 like scorer in the past 3 years out of their lineup, out of McKinnon's like grasp to work with.
But he's had this song locked and loaded.
Have a little bit of compassion. Nate lost a friend. Okay,
He didn't lose him.
He's a
he was
professional,
in Carolina.
Yeah, but he didn't die.
Well, they're not teammates.
It's true.
and he gained a new one in
Who?
Necas, whatever
Who?
his
Martin
name
Necas.
is. Martin Necas.
Who? That's his
Anyways.
point.
That guy?
Give me a scenario where, other than Ray Bourque going to Colorado, where that big name goes to a new team and they win a cup. I just feel like it never works. Like when Ginla went to Pittsburgh, that flopped. Like there's so many times where like, oh, let's get this big name in here and then let's win a cup.
Marion Hossa.
Chicago?
Well, he went to Pitt, he
He
went to
did
Chicago, and then they
Yeah, but
lost.
that
and
didn't
then,
even work.
No,
but
it's-
it ended up working on his third time around.
Okay, sure.
He was with Detroit.
Let me rephrase the question. When did it ever work the first time? You know what I mean? Like other than
Kessel?
Joe Sakic, Kessel.
with the Pens.
Did it work that first year?
They won 2 cups right away, and he went like
Ooh.
almost point per game.
Okay, yeah, but Phil's a
He's not like a superstar like
Phil.
Rant,
No,
but
well, Phil is a superstar. He
he
just
was
doesn't
at
act
the
like
time.
one.
yeah.
That guy's a Phil Kessel's a freak of nature, but somehow every single year, well, at least when he was in his prime, just
Yeah.
dominated.
That Ray Bourque one, Belly was bang on,
But
dude.
that's the only time I really remember when that, like, okay, let's get this free agent in here. Let's trade for this big guy, this big name, and let's go win a cup. I don't know. In the past 10 years of my existence, I just don't ever remember it working.
It's tough though, right?
But it does work with core, like weird, like core depth guys, like Cogliano when he went to Colorado. I think that might have been that first year when they won the cup.
Yep.
It just never works. I always find with these big names that come in, it's just there's too much star power. I don't know. I'm not in the room. I have no idea. But this is from the outside looking in. It just never works when those big names go. But those core guys, those room guys, those glue guys. Sure, it might work.
Yeah, like that one, our good buddy Timo Meyer, the Devils brought him in maybe 2 years ago to try to make their run. That was like the biggest trade of the deadline
To New Jersey?
and like he just couldn't fit in. Like 'cause he's just such a unique game. Took him a bit.
Well, think about this, boys. Like X's and O's side of the game. Okay, say you have a guy on a team that's high flying offense. It's all on the rush. They work down low. It's a different system, right? Now you take a guy like Rantanen, for example. I'm not saying this is the case before everyone jumps down my throat, but you put him in from a system of the Colorado Avalanche for the last decade, okay? And then you throw him into a completely different system at the deadline. It's going to take the guy some time to adjust.
Yeah, so maybe
like
this
it
is
just
the- yeah,
is,
maybe
and
this
that's
is the
why
right
they
time.
try and do these deals early because
Yep.
there's been a trend now. I've been listening on like Sportsnet and shit, is that these big splashes at the deadline are what's kind of throwing the mojo off of these teams, right? The Leafs did it a couple years ago where they brought in like 9 guys. It's like, what are you doing? You basically just shook up the whole entire team, and it just doesn't help. But there are the other side where a guy comes from the same systems somewhat, and they can jump right in, right? But I think you're going to see a lot more like blockbuster deals leading up to the trade deadline these days instead of waiting till March and then the playoffs start in April. So you give this guy like 12 days of practice to jump in. And sometimes, you mix the lines up. Like say you two were gelling all year and you throw me in the mix and I'm a Cancer out there on the line, right? It's just a different system. Then that throws things off, right? So now you're going back to the drawing board and you're trying to get everyone on the same page in a small period of time.
Yeah, you only get like 30 games after the deadline.
Right,
So
so
not
you
even half a season.
See a lot more big deals leading up to the deadline now. in my
GMs
opinion.
have patience, I find. They go, okay, boys, we're going to give you till Christmas. We'll give you to the All-Star game to see if you figure it out. And then eventually they never do, and then they end up trading too late. But I find GMs, coaches, management, they always like to give players a little bit of time because it's kind of like they're proving themselves wrong that all the work that they did in the offseason to put this great team together isn't working. So they always have this like, it's going to work. It's almost like Moneyball, when they put that whole team together, but it didn't work for the first half of the year. But then the third quarter, man, they don't want to discredit their work right away before they make these changes, I find. But, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I do agree with the early trade. If you can trade early, build that momentum or that chemistry before the All-Star break or the Four Nations Cup, it could work. It could work.
There's a whole article here that I was looking up while you said when was the last time someone traded for someone and they won the cup.
Yeah.
This right here is 15 NHL blockbuster trades that led to Stanley Cup glory. But I don't see too many recent ones.
Any, big names, though, or is it just...
Penguins acquire Phil Kessel 2015, as you said.
That was probably the last one. I consider Phil a superstar.
Yeah, I do too. I was just like, he wasn't like he was like at the tail end of his prime when he went to Pittsburgh. Like when he was in the Leafs, he was an absolute stud.
Yeah, like Kings acquire Marion Gaborik. Okay, so the LA Kings, the year that they came from the 8th seed, I think it was, or the 16th seed or whatever, they got Mike Richards and Jeff Carter. So that was a big splash. So that really helped
And they
them.
won that year,
They
eh?
did win that year, 2011 and 12. So, and Columbus got Jack Johnson. So that was one of them. The Nathan Horton one was a weird one in 2010. He ended up getting killed and never played again. Ducks got Chris Pronger. 2006.
Oh, don't talk about that. Well, he went to the Oilers after that
Yes,
and then
he
left
did.
them.
Red Wings make splash for
Hate
Dominic
that guy.
Hasek in 2001, which is crazy. Rob Blake
Yep.
on the same note as the Ray Bourque one, Brendan Shanahan. So now we're getting down into the 90s, but and we were just kids. You weren't even
Different
here
game.
yet.
No.
But yeah, so really, though, to your point, Belly, not a whole lot. of like big name blockbuster trades have gone on to win the Stanley Cup. And when I said Hossa, he went to like Chicago. They lost in the Cup final, and then he got traded back to Detroit or whatever.
No,
and
it was like he went to Detroit in 2000. He was on Pittsburgh in 2008 when they played, and remember it was Detroit-Pittsburgh, and Detroit won, and then he switched over to the other side and went to Detroit the next year, and then Pittsburgh won.
Yes.
That was Crosby's first cup. And then the next year, 2010, he went to Chicago and won right away and ended up winning 3 cups with them, or whatever it was.
Tried 5 teams before he got it right.
So it took him 3 years, but he ended up figuring it out.
All right, let's bring it back local here.
Okay.
Jacob Quillen.
Mm-hmm. Dartmouth boy.
Let's give a round of applause.
Big dog stuff. Undrafted.
Congratulations, sir, on your first game in the NHL. Toronto Maple Leafs too. I don't know what team was his team growing up, but you have to assume it was a Canadian team. Could have been Toronto, could have been Montreal, who knows? But either way, to play for the hockey mecca Toronto Maple Leaf organization as your first game in the NHL, coming from Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, man, playing for the Whalers.
Yeah.
The Steel Subaru, unbelievable. They might have even called the Subways back
They were
then.
called the Dartmouth Major Midgets.
The Dartmouth Major Midgets.
Super controversial.
But either way, just, a really fun story, a great story, and to see him get out there, it was a really cool night. That was a huge game for Halifax or just Atlantic Canada in terms of hockey. Highmore had a great game.
Batherson
was out there.
Obviously.
It was great.
To have 3 Nova Scotians, because obviously we have the big dogs, the Marchands and the McKinnons and the Crosbys. Like, those guys have been staples in the NHL for the last little while, and they weren't going anywhere. We knew that. But like you said, man, to have this guy, Quillen, undrafted from just across the bridge, so $1.25 away from us right now, to play for Toronto. Now, he had a tough game because he got kneed, but we're not going to overshadow his debut by that.
No.
And for me, too, especially Leafs fan, obviously, it's been a while since I think we've seen a Nova Scotian or Atlantic Canadian on the Leafs. Maybe Myers, I think, maybe is one of them.
Shaw,
yeah, with the Marlies, he's got a little bit of a sniff there, but pretty cool moment for the young kid, man, especially undrafted. He ended up going to Quinnipiac University.
he had a big overtime winner, I'm pretty sure, in the Frozen Four like 2 years ago in the rink that Tampa Bay plays in. Am I incorrect on that?
I think you're on the right path. Like, there was a huge goal that he scored, and that kind of helped put him on the map or solidify his status on the map, I guess, if you could. But man, he also played in the BCHL for the Penticton Vs. Like, I mean, he's had quite, like, if you look at his DB here, he played for the Whalers. Shout out to the U15 Whalers. I got a nice hoodie at home that I was rocking during the game. Newbridge, RIP. The Major Midgets, he went to Salisbury Prep School. Then he played for the Yale Junior Bulldogs. Like, this guy has paid his dues to get to this point. It is what I'm trying to say. It wasn't your standard. It kind of gives me like Zach Sill, Liam O'Brien kind of vibes. Not in the sense where he had to fight like physically his way into the NHL and stuff like that, but just kept not taking no for an answer, just kept pushing. And like, let's be honest, man, I didn't know who he was until a couple years ago, right? Like, he come up through the system and then he leaves. You don't hear much of those kids that don't play locally anymore.
So sorry to interrupt you, but yes, so he did get the national championship winning goal in overtime to beat Minnesota. So he played for Quinnipiac, beat them, how much time? 10 seconds into overtime. Look at this goal right here.
So he strikes quick.
Drives the net hard. Like a Maritimer. Look at that. Minnesota guy snaps his stick. Look at this. Look, he shot the duck with the glove out of the air. He's a team guy too. All of his boys love him. Look at that.
Yeah, that's a
Maritime
cool
guy
moment,
right there.
Right? If you don't expect magic after that,
National championship overtime goal, 10 seconds, 2023 Frozen Four.
I think that's a goal that could easily make a team take a chance on you. Like, think about this. If we break it down, first of all, he's out there, okay, in overtime.
First shift.
You know how it goes.
So he's defensively responsible.
If you and I are on the team, ain't no way we're out in overtime unless the guys are gassed, right? Defensively responsible, can score. He had 46 points that year in college hockey in Division I. He had 39 games. He had 17 tucks. He had 49 points. That's a big
46
moment.
46 points.
Or 46. Sorry,
39 games played, 17 goals, 29 assists for a total of 46.
So to even be considered to be out there in the overtime in the national final against Minnesota, which is the American hockey mecca for college hockey, they say, anyways. Just to be out there and get that goal, man, that's like if you're a scout and he wasn't on your radar, you're going, okay, maybe we'll give him a second look this time. You know, that's a big goal. Probably the biggest goal he'll score in his career, unless he scores the overtime winner for the Leafs to win the Stanley Cup.
Hey, maybe, man. Weirder things have happened. You
Right?
never know. But no, it's always sick. It's always a nice little feather in Atlantic Canada's hat. Whenever you see a story like this. So that was great to see.
Especially the Whalers. Right?
And also, Highmore played unbelievable that game. I can't go without saying that, dude. Over 15 minutes of ice time. They were double shifting him.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Late in the game.
Yeah, late in the game,
Yeah.
and third last like 7 minutes left in the game. They were just putting him on, not him on Matthews, but he was out against the Matthews Marner in Nye's line.
He
Nice.
plays the same way every shift.
Yeah,
Highmore.
Anyways, it was just great to see that. It was awesome, and Ottawa's on a little bit of a run right now. You
Yeah.
love to see when Ottawa like teams are doing well and they call up these guys and then they stick around.
Well, that's the thing about I was going to say about Highmore. Like, I don't know if he's even been up all year, but you want to talk about a guy because it's got to be tough. We haven't gone through it. To be up and down, you're being thrown into the lineup, you're going back, you're going into the top 6 in the AHL, you're going into the bottom 6 of the NHL. Like he's just the most moldable guy that I can think of that's coming in and out. Like he always comes up and makes an impact. He's never going to hurt you on the ice.
No.
And the fact that he was getting double shifted late in the game against the number 1 team in the East, it says all you need to know. He didn't even have a shot on goal, but he made shit happen. Like
He had an assist on the game-winning goal.
yes, he did, and it was he like batted it out of the air. But yeah, man, big day for Nova Scotia, big day for the Whalers. Shout out to them because they've worked with us for a long time, so it's a little soft spot for those guys. But yeah, man, cool moment for sure.
You got to remember that guy was in the room with like Kane and Taves in Chicago, like in their prime. You got to remember that some of the things that he got to see back in his early NHL career.
Oh,
that was
Highmore.
the first time he ever came over too. Was back when he was playing for Chicago at my parents' place.
And shout
Like
out to him too for giving us a chance.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
He was definitely one. Like him and OB were definitely one of like the first two.
And Dobson.
Yeah, Dobson came on like right after the Mem Cup.
On the local
Yeah.
note.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Pretty crazy to think. Like back then, you know, we were just a couple schmucks. We still are kind of we're a few schmucks now, but yeah. But that just goes to, that's their character, right? Like those guys, they want to help local guys, and they, you know how the Nova Scotia pride goes. You pretty much stick side by side for all of it. So good to see.
Yeah, you have to. Playoffs around the corner. Cannot wait. At least for U18 and all that stuff. It's going to be sick. I just love who was it last year that made a name for themselves?
Walters.
Yeah, for the Moose.
Yeah.
You know, there's always that guy.
And you just wait for it. And you just know, like, and that's the thing about the Nova Scotia guys, man. Like, I just find there's so much grit here. Like, when push comes to shove, there's those guys that come through, right? There's some guys that fade out, but there's other guys that just, like, find another level and they start to create a lane and a name for themselves. So, waiting for this year's version of that.
Yeah, it'll be sick.
On
How much time are we at, sorry, going?
We're at
38.
43.
What is it?
43.
43? Okay. What were you going to say?
I was just going to give a quick shout out to our buddy Matty Welsh, one of the first guys to come on our podcast that was of significance at that point. He was a stud for Charlottetown Islanders, BSHL, which is the Beaux Jours Senior Hockey League, which a lot of people listening may not know about. But he was the league MVP for the league and the top goaltender. So you don't often see, you said this, goaltender win league MVP, especially on like the last place team, okay? They were second last or whatever, but man, just watching him play is like, he just never loses it. It seems he's so calm, and just a shout out to him, man, because the way he goes about his life, he's always doing stuff in the community. He was a great student when he was in school. People always looked up to him, and he just continues to impress here no matter what. And he's just unbelievable, man. He's just a great guy too.
We'll have to get him back on here for sure. Attaboy Welshie. I do have to do a couple shout outs. Not a shout out, but just promotional things. One, Sackville Minor Hockey, Craft Hockeyville. Unbelievable the amount of engagement that their Craft Hockeyville page received. It's not necessarily votes this year or the past couple years. I don't know really how it's worked, but they mark the rankings in terms of engagement. So what you do, I'll post this link somewhere. I've already posted it on our Facebook. You go to this page and you post pictures, you post stories, you post things that essentially show you engaging with Sackville Arena, and there's all these categories that add up at the end where you can compete against other rinks across Canada. So Sackville Minor Hockey messaged me yesterday morning, I believe, and they sent me a photo of where Sackville Arena is in the standings, essentially, against all of these other rinks across Canada. And the one that they're tied at, like the one, department, is the stories on the main page. They're tied with another rink out in Ontario at 60 stories. Another category is photos, notes, and post. But at the end of the day, every other category they've pretty much won in. But the only category they're tied in is stories. So head on over to that link. I don't care if it's a good story, a bad story. It just has to be a story that you've had at Sackville Arena. Hit that. Write a little sentence, a little paragraph, something that shows that you've been in the Sackville Arena, that you want to support it, and let's get these guys a brand new arena and an NHL game. You know, if they win this, yes, they get $250,000 worth of upgrades, but then they also get an NHL game, and who knows, Sid could come back and play. Imagine having Sid playing Sackville Arena against Batherson again. Like that'd be
tough to imagine.
Yeah, no, hey man, anything is possible.
It's crazy.
Just like Quillen could get the Game 7 overtime winner for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Anything could happen. What?
Manifest.
We're putting a lot of pressure on that kid.
Oh, we're not.
Yeah. And yeah, so I just wanted to say that just a little thought. If you have 20 minutes free whenever you're listening to this, just head on over to that link. Go to our Facebook page. It's me talking into the camera, but I put like a little link below, and you just click that and just do a little story. Easy, simple. And then boom, Sackville gets a new rink.
There's some great stories here, man. I'm looking at it. And
and
to piggyback onto that, each story earns your rink 10 rally points. I got a million stories that I might just put on here. Not really any really good ones, but they're stories. But there's man, I'm just reading some of them, and like at the end of the day, these arenas are much more than a place to host a hockey game,
it's
right?
A community center.
Exactly. It's a community center. It's a way of life. And you guys know Sackville is probably like one of the tightest knit communities when it comes to hockey that we've ever seen, which is why we couldn't stand them when we were growing up, right?
Oh,
but
awful.
That's completely gone. Like, I don't care anymore about that stuff. But it's, just like reading some of these is I got a little more softness to me these days, but just reading off some of these things is incredible, right? Like, the people that are 60, 70, 80 years old that have been going to this arena and have watched 4 generations of their own family come through this one arena, and they haven't made too many changes to that arena. It's been the same for the most part. So let's make it happen, folks. Nova Scotia needs it, Sackville needs it, and we're behind them. So
for sure. Also, another one, the Halifax Wolverines and the High Button Nova Scotia U15 Major Hockey League. They are having a special night tomorrow night, Wednesday, January 29th at 6 p.m. at the Halifax Forum versus the Gulls. They are having these beautiful jerseys that are going to be representing the colored hockey league of the Maritimes. Any kids that come with their minor hockey jerseys on, Timbits, any minor hockey league jersey as well, get in the door for free. We want to have this building packed for tomorrow. It's going towards a great cause. I've seen a sneak peek of the jerseys that the Halifax Wolverines are going to be wearing. They're unbelievable. They're going to look so cool on the ice. High Button Sports, I'll be there in attendance. We're going to be streaming the game as well. Really excited about this. So one more time, tomorrow, Wednesday, January 29th at 6 p.m. at the Halifax Forum. They're playing the Gulls, Halifax Wolverines, Colored Hockey League of the Maritimes, special jerseys. It's going to be a great game. Really excited about it. Anytime the Forum has an event, you know me and the Forum, we just, I love the Forum. It's just memories on memories on memories. So to make one more memory tomorrow, why the hell not,
Exactly.
Going to be great.
Another great thing that I find the U15 league's doing a lot better job of like incorporating special nights. I know they work in conjunction with the Special Olympics and stuff like that, but to add this in, not only is it good for the situation that it is, but these kids to be able to see kind of the grassroots of hockey and that it's for everybody and stuff like that, right? It's teaching them lessons at a young age, and I think it's really good. So once again, we're behind them on that one, so we'll be there, and if I suggest you go as well.
It'll be great. 6:00. What do we think about Boston? And do we have you saw Petrangelo?
Oh yeah,
dropped out.
Yep.
How do we feel about that? Is that good for us or bad for us or not? I don't want to be selfish. Is that good or bad for the Four Nations Cup? Because apparently he's not hurt.
No.
He just doesn't want to play.
Yeah.
Am I overreacting here? That's bad?
I don't think it's great. We'll kind of see how the next few weeks play out. But
I've always wanted to see that guy play.
I have no issues with it.
You have no issues? You have no issues with the fact that he just doesn't want to play, or you have no issues with the fact that, I guess that's all I'm really asking. You have no issue, well,
No, I don't. I don't have any issue with a guy making a personal choice. He put his team first as much as he, let's face it, boys. This is like kind of just a thrown tournament. It's best on best, but at the end of the day, you're not getting paid for it, right?
No, they're definitely getting paid for it, but
at
the end of the day, to
salaries.
these guys, it doesn't matter.
And like if he wants to put his team first where he signed his contract, then that's okay with me. I understand that it's going to hurt the Defense Corps of Canada, and as a fan, it sucks. But if I look at it from like an athlete standpoint, of course I've never been a pro athlete, which is why I can't truly attest to this, but I just have no issue with him. If he wants to, he's not young anymore. Petrangelo's a vet. He's a seasoned vet. He's not exactly, in the early stages of his career. Yeah. So for him to put his team first, I think that shows a lot about his character. You can sit here and argue and say, well, what about his country? It's like this guy's represented his country. He's paid his dues, man. Like if this was the Olympics, I think you'd see a different thing. But where it's a 4-team tournament, I think
that's the problem. Like it's an NHLPA event. Like this is for the Players Association.
Yeah, it doesn't really feel like an international event.
But I think that should be why he should be there, showing up, representing. Like this is for the players. They've battled for international hockey for 10 years now.
Yes.
They finally got a tournament together, and now a guy who's not injured on one of the host teams, who is a vet, is just pulling out and then playing 25 minutes regular for his team. Like I guess I get the age part, but if this starts a snowball,
I know that's what I'm worried about.
Then it's like good. It's like great. Like I'm glad you didn't have to play 3 extra games, but now the NHLPA event is not looking as serious. You
just can't go into this game you can't go into this tournament and just not finish your hits. I'm sorry. Like the guys playing in this game won't. Not like exactly. They have to take it serious. It's not an NHL All-Star game. I know they will, but. Yeah. I'm just saying, I hope I agree to what you're saying, how I hope other players aren't seeing this and just going, oh, it's that easy? You just have to say no?
And they also suspended if you didn't go to the All-Star games in the past, and they're not suspending for this because it's an NHLPA event. It's not really, it's like not NHL or whatever. So I don't know. I don't think it's a great start. And I do get your point. He's old and he's represented the Canada before, but
Vegas could have a long run this year.
He's 35 years old, boys. That's old as shit in the NHL these days.
We need him on the roster.
I know we do. Like I get that. That's the part on this shoulder that's going, just play because we need you. But it does say he's dealing with an ailment. But then he goes and plays 37 minutes the next night. So it's tough. I'll be honest with you. This is going to be an
injury.
It's like a
partial.
It's like something that's like lingering. Linger, man. I'm going to say this now, and it's probably going to piss some people off. But I'd like to see Matthews do the same thing.
Oh yeah,
I want to see him,
man. Especially going to the finals.
I just don't give a shit. I want the Leafs to win. I want and then it gives us a better chance because he's not on the States. But I want to see him play. He's one of my favorite players in the world. But right now he's dealing with some shit, and to see him go down during the Four Nations Cup and not be able to compete with the Leafs is insane. I want him there, but I'm saying if he did it, I would understand.
I'd be extremely disappointed if McDavid pulled out.
You really just said that.
I said it right here on air.
You just said it.
And I'm a Leafs fan, boys. So, I want him to be in the game. I want to see him in the finals. I do. I would love to watch him live, not in a all-star scenario. I would, but at the end of the day, your contract and your team obligation outweighs all of this.
This is just a bad start to it, though, man. Like, the NHL has fought for 10 years to get international play, and now the first event we got is pulling out before it even starts. Like, it's just a bad look.
It's only one guy so far.
That's the thing. This week is very important for players pulling out. If they pull out, it'll be this week, next week type of thing. Because doesn't it start, like, in a week or two?
There's got to be, like, a clause.
It's like, pretty late, man. Like,
it starts soon, though.
February, like
halfway through
15th,
February.
Oh, so like two more weeks. No, 3. A week. Because we're leaving in 3 weeks.
There's got to be like a clause though where you can't bail up until a certain point. You know what I mean? Like, otherwise guys would just be like day before, be like
Yeah.
So let's flip the script though. Who do you think is going to replace Pietrangelo? Since we're all arguing over our takes here.
I don't know. Like,
I heard Morgan Riley, which I don't agree with.
February 12th, Belly.
February 12th it starts.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's only a week-long event then.
Yeah.
It's only a few games.
And, like, really, it's not that strenuous of a schedule. It's not like you're playing, you're playing some back-to-backs and stuff like that. But, like, really, you're playing one game a day. Like, obviously, they would never play 2 in a day. But, I don't know. It's just, like, I think we could sit here and go back and forth on what. But Obviously, you want all the best players to be there, especially where we're going. Like
Out of being a little bit of a homer because Uyghur played here, I'd like to see Uyghur. Not that I don't want Drew Downey there. Like whatever, Drew Downey's Drew Downey. I've seen him play in multiple events, but apparently he's hurt right now. That's the thing with LA. I just don't see enough LA games to like know whether or not this guy's still in his prime.
He's a bum.
That's what everyone's saying online though. It's Drew Downey has to replace him, but I've always liked Uyghur's game. I love his physicality. I love his responsibility.
Yeah.
Or his defensive responsibility. He never gets too ahead of himself. I just like his style of game, and also I'd like to see another Moosehead there. That'd kind of be cool. That's just me.
That's funny you say that because I'm looking at an article here now, and it's the ranking Canada's top options to replace Pietrangelo, and Uyghur's the number one option.
Yeah.
Right
There you
now.
go, Belly.
Yeah.
So that, and like you said, he's very similar to Pietrangelo. He can play on the power play. He can log minutes on the penalty kill. He's going to block shots. He'll hit. He's a great leader.
He's mean.
People love him. He's got a little bit of a mean
he's
streak,
mean.
right? And let's be honest, he's proved himself over the last 5-10 years. Like he went to Calgary, who was a dumpster fire to start the year, and he's done well there, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, a little homegrown, kind of played for the Mooseheads, and we got to hang out with him quite a bit. He's a chill guy, like just as a regular fella, but now he's living his dream in the NHL. So, like I said, I obviously I heard Riley, but as a Leafs fan,
So you don't care about Marner playing?
no, I don't. Marner's not dealing with injuries all year. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
so that's the only thing you care. Oh, see, okay.
see, if
so
Matthews
if
was
Matthews-
100% healthy,
okay.
I would be like, shut up, stop being a baby,
Go
take your
for
bib
it.
off and get out there,
I
right?
see what you're
But
saying. Okay.
I know that was a little bit of a hot take, and I know it stirred the pot a little bit, but at the end of the day, these guys have obligations to stay on their club teams and fulfill their contracts, right? Dougie Hamilton be a good option if he's not on the team already. Brandon Montour. You know, like that's the thing. Pietrangelo is good, boys, but he's not like the difference maker for Canada. Like, see ya, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't think he'll make or break it, but
He's certainly going to help.
I'm just
Evan
hoping for some
Bouchard,
good- yeah,
like throw him in the mix, man.
he's
the same as
he's offense.
Uyghur.
He's a lot of offense. His defense could, but yeah, he'd be a good addition. Hyman is the one I'm rattled at, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. He had if he would have started the season like he started last year, he'd have been on the team, I think. Chris
He
Tanner.
would have been
Yes.
like a Kunitz to Crosby type thing.
He
out
maybe
there.
had
Yes.
7 bad games in the past year and a half, but oh well.
All right, let's wrap it up. We gotta get we gotta high button. We gotta do it. We gotta do work here. Thank you, first of all, everyone listening. We appreciate it. We want to make sure that everyone has a great week. We want to make sure everyone goes out and supports that Wolverines game. Go to the link I posted for Sackville Minor Hockey, Craft Hockeyville. Shout out to Welshie. And I think we're good. Do you guys want to say anything else before we head on out?
Nope.
Let's get it.
All right, we're out. Peace.
Hey, let's get the Twiggies going.